Hey there, my friends. Welcome back to Salud al Día, the podcast where we talk about everything from your weird headache that's probably not a brain tumor to, well, today's topic, vampires. Yes, vampires. But before you hit pause and think, wait, what happened to the health talk? Trust me, this episode is going to be worth your time. Buckle up, because today we're sinking our teeth, pun absolutely intended, into Nosferatu, the mysterious history of vampires, and believe it or not, whether science can make a case for these blood-sucking legends. All right, let's start with Nosferatu. What's this movie even about? Well, imagine a world cloaked in shadows, dripping with dread, where a mysterious otherworldly figure creeps into a quiet town. This figure, Count Orlok, is not your charming, smooth-talking, glittering-in-the-sun vampire. Nope. Orlok is menacing, unsettling, honestly, the stuff of nightmares. The story revolves around him becoming dangerously obsessed with a young woman named Ellen. But this isn't just a love story, it's about obsession, fear, and the creeping dread of something unnatural slithering into the everyday life of normal people. As the shadow of the vampire grows, it brings disease, decay, and death in its wake. And here's the kicker. This isn't a superhero showdown where some vampire hunter with cool gadgets saves the day. No, this is raw gothic horror. It's about humanity being fragile and darkness being relentless. Why should you watch it? Because it's not your typical vampire flick. This isn't about romance in a castle under a full moon. This is about the raw, unsettling fear of the unknown. It's the kind of movie that makes you glance over your shoulder when you turn the lights off. Plus, it's a modern reimagining of one of the oldest horror films ever made. Almost like paying homage to the granddaddy of cinematic horror. Now, let's talk about vampires. Where did this whole thing even start? Why are humans so obsessed with these nocturnal neckbiters? Well, vampires are one of humanity's oldest fears, and for good reason. Long before glittery vampires made their way onto teen romance posters, stories of blood-drinking creatures have been whispered around campfires and scrawled into dusty old books. Back in medieval Europe, death was everywhere. Plagues, poor sanitation, mysterious illnesses. It was rough. When people didn't understand how diseases spread, they turned to stories to explain the unexplainable. Someone would die mysteriously, and then more people in their family would start dropping like flies. Naturally, the villagers thought, this must be the work of the dead coming back for revenge. One of the earliest documented vampires was Petar Blagojevich in 18th century Serbia. After he died, 9 people in his village mysteriously fell sick and died shortly after. Naturally, people said, yep, Petar's definitely coming back at night and drinking their blood. When they dug up his grave, his body reportedly looked fresh, with blood smeared around his mouth. Was this vampirism or just natural decomposition? Science has some answers now, but back then, yikes. And let's not forget Vlad the Impaler, the bloodthirsty ruler of Wallachia, and the alleged inspiration behind Bram Stoker's Dracula. This guy wasn't a vampire, but he sure acted the part. The man loved skewering his enemies on giant wooden stakes and, according to legend, sometimes dipped his bread in their blood. You see where this is going. But vampires didn't just exist in Europe. Almost every culture has some version of a blood-drinking creature. In the Philippines, they have the aswang. In Malaysia, there's the penanggalan. These creatures all share similar traits: dark, mysterious, and obsessed with consuming life essence, usually through blood. So, let's ask the big question. Could vampires actually exist? Is there any scientific basis for these legends? Well, kinda. Let me introduce you to a little thing called porphyria. It's a rare genetic disorder where the body has trouble producing heme, a key component of hemoglobin in the blood. Symptoms: sensitivity to sunlight, receding gums, making teeth look longer, and oddly enough, drinking blood could, in theory, temporarily alleviate some of the symptoms. Sound familiar? Yep, porphyria might have fueled some vampire myths. And then there's rabies. Yes, rabies. Infected individuals can become hypersensitive to light, water, and strong smells like garlic. They can also become aggressive, delirious, and prone to biting. Combine these symptoms with some medieval superstition and bam, instant vampire story. But let's just imagine for a moment, what if vampires did exist? What would the world look like? For one, blood banks would become Fort Knox. We'd probably have vampire rights activists lobbying for ethical blood sourcing. Scientists would be frantically studying vampire physiology. How do they metabolize blood? How do they stay alive without aging? Would they be classified as a separate species? And let's not even get started on dating apps. Swipe right if you're cool with eternal darkness and garlic-free dinners. At the end of the day, vampires are more than just monsters. They represent humanity's deepest fears: disease, death, the unknown, and even our own desires. But they also symbolize power, immortality, and the allure of living forever if you're willing to pay the price. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, and share it with someone who might love this deep dive into vampire lore. I'll catch you in the next episode of Salud al Día. Until then, stay curious, stay brave, and maybe, just maybe, keep an eye on your neck.